including ERP coordination, IQAC activities, result analysis, and class advisory roles. Dr. Nadia ma'am has presented and published more than 25 research papers in national and international journals, including Scopus and Web of Science indexed journals, and has contributed chapters to edited books. She has also organized seminars and conferences, edited books with ISBNs, and served as external question paper setter for autonomous colleges. With strong communication skills, technical proficiency, and a passion to continuous learning, supported with certifications from NPTEL, Allison, and Udemy, she remains committed to academic excellence, research growth, and holistic student development. We are honored to have with us today. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your detailed introduction, Supriya. Now, with great pleasure and enthusiasm, we invite our distinguished guest, Dr. Nadia, to deliver the lecture on the topic Posthumanism and Eco-Criticism, Reimagining Literature in the Anthropocene Era. We look forward to your enriching insights from you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for the formal welcome. Before sharing my screen, I wish to begin a day with a positive note that even the tallest trees begin by trusting the smallest seed within them. With this simple yet profound truth from nature, I warmly welcome you all to today's session. Just as a tiny seed holds the potential to reshape an entire landscape, every new idea we encounter has the power to open fresh paths of understanding. So in the spirit of growth, curiosity, and renewal, let us step together into today's discussion. Good evening to all the organizers, fellow faculty members, and participants from various colleges. I'm delighted to be part of this faculty development program on emerging trends on pedagogical innovations. Today, I'll be speaking on a topic that has become increasingly relevant in both literary studies and real-world discourse. That is, posthumanism and eco-criticism, reimagining literature in the Anthropocene era. That is what the topic was given to me. Hope my screen is visible, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. The screen is visible.
Am I audible, ma'am? Supraja, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You're audible, ma'am.
And also my screen is visible, right, ma'am?
Yes, 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 ma'am.
Yes. Okay, fine. So this is what I'm going to cover in today's session. Anthropocene, introduction, literature and Anthropocene, posthumanism, posthumanism in literature, eco-criticism, and intersection of both the theories. Now, coming to the introduction to the Anthropocene, we live in a time when human actions have become a geological force. So, the term Anthropocene, which signifies an era in which climate change, species extinction, technological acceleration, and environmental degradation are reshaping our world. So, literature, being a mirror of human consciousness, has also begun to reflect these shifts. So, writers, theorists, and critics across the world rethinking. And they asked the questions like, what does it mean to be human? How do non-human entities like animals, plants, landscapes, machines participate in narratives? How can literature reimagine sustainability and coexistence? So these questions which guide for both posthumanism and eco-criticism. So coming to posthumanism, we need to understand posthumanism first, and then only we can get to know the concept, and then only we can get to know the intersection between these two, intersection of posthumanism and eco-criticism in literary works. So posthumanism, which is not about rejecting humanity, which is not anti-human. So instead, it challenges the traditional idea of humans being at the center of everything. So key ideas of posthumanism when we take decentering of the human. So humans who are not superior to animals or technologies or any other ecosystems. And coming to the next idea, blurring blurring the boundaries. So between human and machine, human and animal, organic and artificial, there are blurring boundaries which are prevailed. So new forms of identity which explode during posthumanism period, that is called cyborgs, hybrids, technologically enhanced bodies are discussing about this posthumanism. So ethics beyond the human, that is responsibility towards machines, AI and non-human life, those ideas are incorporated into posthumanism. So, for example, when we take literature, we have the examples of writers like Margaret Atwood, who has written Arcs and Crack. In that work, the idea of posthumanism, which is much expressed. And apart from that, Isigro's Never Let Me Go, Donna Haraway's Cyborg Manifesto, all these works which talks about the blurring boundaries of humans in posthumanism period. And these works which also explore the ideas like genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and hybrid identities, which also shows how literature predicts and reflects the technological futures in literary works. And coming to the next idea, that is the concept of eco-criticism, which means the literary theory that studies the relationship between literature and environment. So the main goal of this criticism, literary eco-criticism, is not only to analyze the nature in text, but to question environmental ethics and human responsibility. So the main idea of eco-criticism is the concentrating on both anthropocentrism and eco-criticism, and which also talks about the climate anxiety and ecological grief and nature as agency and not as background, and also which talks about the environmental justice, indigenous perspectives on land and ecology. Coming to ecology in literary works. So more writers who concentrate, who discuss about this eco-criticism, ecological theory in their works. To name a few, Amitav Ghosh, The Great Derangement, Barbara Kingsolver's Like Behavior, Rachel Carson's The Silent Spring, Arundhati Roy's Environmental Essays, all these which talks about the idea that is eco-criticism. Apart from the apart from essays in poetry as well, eco poetry like Wendell Berry, Mary Oliver, and A.K. Ramanujam, all these poets who talks about the forest, oceans, rivers, animals, and climate as active narrative force. They use all these as active narrative forces. Coming to the next idea, that is connecting posthumanism and eco-criticism. That is intersection of the theories posthumanism and eco-criticism. So these two theories emerged separately, but they intersect beautifully in the context of Anthropocene, because they shared the common themes, that is decentering of the humans. That is the central idea of both the theories. So these two theories emerged separately in different period, but they intersect beautifully in conveying the following themes. Because both theories which ask us to rethink human dominance over nature. So that is animals, machines, rivers, forests, and even microbes, they become the characters with their own narratives. So they encourage new forms of care towards technology, nature, and the planet. The literary works which are available during the posthumanism period, which talks about they encourage the new forms of care towards technology, nature, and planet. And during this period, that is literature of the Anthropocene period, which talks when we take, which mainly talks about the reimagining the future. For example, the climate fiction, that is we call that as clipi, and apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic text, speculative fiction, now combine environmental issues with technological transformations. For example, emerging literary trends like climate fiction, which talks about that explore floods, droughts, melting ice caps, pandemics, and environmental catastrophes. All these as a part of as a characteristics in the novel. So, for example, a writer Robinson, who has used these ideas in his work, The Ministry for the Future. And animal and multi-species studies, here texts that narrate from the perspective of animals show humans and animals as interconnected beings. So which is not new because when we take Anthropocene, which talks about the interconnectedness of humans and animals. So that is what discussed in the work Jan Martel's Life of Pi. And also which are expressed in Jane Coetzee's The Lives of the Animals. So in these two works, we can notice the connectedness between the humans and animals. And coming to the next idea, that is cyborg and techno-organic literature, their narratives where humans merge with machines and biotechnology. So for example, William Gibson's Neuromancer, which talks about the concept machines which combined humans with they combined with biotechnology. That is evidence in this work. And indigenous ecological narratives, here stories that emphasize harmony with the land, community, and non-human life. So that is what indigenous ecological narratives which focuses on. So here Native American writings are evidenced, and apart from that, Indian tribal literature also, which talks about the harmony with the land, community, and non-human life. So why these approaches matter nowadays in recent scenario? Why all these matters? It's because of the following reasons. Because we need to develop ecological awareness in students. That is the major reason. That is the reason major significance which was given to these two theories, especially posthumanism and eco-criticism. So here, to develop ecological awareness among students, because that especially literature that can inspire responsibility, empathy, and critical thinking about the environment. And to encourage interdisciplinary thinking, students they can connect literature with the biology, ethics, technology, sociology, and climate science. That is the reason this plays a vital role. Anthropocene, which plays a vital role in today's classrooms, and also to introduce contemporary theoretical frameworks like these theories reflect current research trends. That is, which is useful for higher studies and academic publications as well. Apart from this, to prepare the students for a tech-driven and climate-challenged world, when they read the works which concentrates on these perspectives, which helps them to understand the climate-challenged world. And how are we going to incorporate in today's classroom? What are the pedagogical methods, strategies that can be incorporated in English classroom to introduce all these things to the students community? So first thing, that is text pairings can be taken. For example, pairing a poem on nature with a dystopian short story can be given to the students. And film studies, that is using documentaries, the true cost are our planet. Likewise, the students can be concentrating on their documentaries. And project-based learning, that is, students can map local environmental issues and they can discuss that in their project, so that awareness can be created among the student community. And apart from that, creative writing, that is, we can motivate the students to write about eco-poetry, speculative fiction, and digital narratives. Through that also, they can do research and they can implement, they can get to know more about equitism and the interconnectedness of humans and nature. Coming to the interdisciplinary modules, that is AI and literature. Nowadays, it becomes a popular term, that is AI can be incorporated in literature as well. So we should also agree that because through which we can able to express, we can get more ideas. So environmental humanities, that also through which we can reimagine the literature, moving from human-centered to planet-centered reading that can take. So this talk ultimately which suggests that from humans as protagonist to multi-species protagonist. So humans not only as a protagonist in the Anthropocene works, instead humans as instead of humans alone as protagonists, multi-species protagonist can be incorporated. And nature as backdrop, from nature as backdrop to nature and machines as active agents. Okay, so that can be incorporated in the work. And from technology as threat to technology as a part of human evolution, because without technology we won't be able to survive in today's world. So from technology as threat to technology as a part of human evolution, all these we need to accept, all this shift in academic lens that we should accept. Literature, from literature as entertainment to literature as ecological and ethical consciousness, that is it becomes nowadays it has changed into like this. Moving beyond human-centered, that is, from posthumanism, from normal literature to posthumanism and eco-criticism, all these shifts which has happened. So all these shifts which we should accept as well. And then these posthumanism and eco-criticism which challenge us to rethink the position of the human, especially human. We should in changing world, we should rethink the position of human during this period. And in the Anthropocene, literature becomes a powerful tool to imagine new futures, like the futures built on sustainability, coexistence, and shared responsibility. As educators, it is our role to bring these emerging perspectives into the classroom. That is, enabling students to read literature not just as text, but as a space for ethical and ecological transformation. Through text, students should understand that it is a space for ethical and ecological transformation. Because posthumanism, which invites us to decenter ourselves. Egotism, which asks us to listen. So together, both these two theories, they compel us to reimagine literature as a space where the human, the non-human, and the planetary speak to one another. So not human alone. Okay, human alone, no, we should not take advantage over nature. So we should give a space. It is literature. During this posthumanism period, we have a space for all these. That is human, non-human, and the planetary. All they speak one another. So these are my references. And thank you all. Thank you, organizers, for giving me this wonderful opportunity.
Thank you for the enlightening and deeply informative session, ma'am. We will now move into a short question and answer session. Participants may raise their questions or type them in the chat box. Ma'am?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
If you don't mind, I have a question, ma'am.
Yes,
like, how might posthumanism avoid replicating colonial erasures when engaging with traditional ecological knowledge system?
You are not asking us to avoid tradition, but we should give space for other species as well. We should not dominate. Humans should not dominate the nature. That is what posthumanism which talks about. Am I clear?
Ma'am, I'm Supriya. Ma'am, I also have a question.
Ma'am.
You mentioned that nature can also be affected by missions, right, ma'am? How could you relate that with the anthropocentric approach, ma'am? Can you give me some examples?
Yes, ma'am. Because technology, due to emerging technologies, nature which are dominated and also affected. That is evident in literary works as well. The Cyborg's Manifesto, which talks about that. So technology should not affect a human, and that should not affect as well nature.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
அது எப்படி நம்ம
Ma'am, there is a question in the chat box, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
There is a question in the chat box.
Yes,
how do texts represent shifting identities?
How do
Ma'am, the
texts
question
represent
is,
shifting identities beyond human?
Sorry.
How do texts represent shifting identities beyond human, ma'am?
Yes. So shifting identities, when we read more, automatically we can get to know about the shifting identities, like which I have mentioned in this slide. That is from human as protagonist. Human alone should not be the protagonist in the text. We should give space for the other entities as well. The non-human, and as well as for the technology, we should give space. So that shift we should accept, that is evidentable in literary works. So when we read literary works, we can able to understand that, and that is also evidentable in today's scenario.
Ma'am,
There
we
is
also
also
have
another
another
question.
How does posthumanism respond to eco-trauma experienced by species and ecosystems beyond human perception? So apart from that is posthumanism respond to eco-trauma experienced by species. So this eco system which talks about that is eco-literature and posthumanism, both combined, they intersect, and it gives a new connotation that there is a space given to the non-human entities as well. So the human can think beyond that, beyond ecosystem, but it is evidentable in the literary works like posthumanism. During the works which is available during posthumanism period, that are talking about the interconnectedness between the humans and the eco literature.
Am I audible, ma'am? I have a question. Do you think posthumanism will make a human more superior, maybe a superhuman, or do you think posthumanism will give rise to a new way of understanding how we perceive the world with the help of the other non-human entities like nature or technology or
It is not new. Actually, it challenges human-centered thinking. Posthumanism challenges human-centered thinking and urges us to see humans, non-humans, and the environment. We are the interconnected beings. That is what posthumanism which talks about. That is what the central idea that posthumanism which talks about.
Ma'am, I have another question. How do we reconcile post-human decentering of the human with eco-critical activism, which often requires human agency and intervention, ma'am?
Can you repeat the question again, ma'am?
Ma'am, like how do we reconcile the post-human idea of decentering the human with eco-critical activism, ma'am?
So human idea, which is not actually the idea which are decentering the human with eco-critical activities by recognizing the environmental role. That is, it requires humans to stop assuming they are the center. They should not assume that humans as a center. They should stop that, because ego-criticism, which focuses towards agency, value, the vulnerability of non-human life, which focuses on all these perspectives. Because when we take this theory posthumanism, which reminds us to read, rethink, and act from the perspective that includes ecosystems, animals, and the planet as equal participants. The humans, we should stop assume that we are the center.
Yes, ma'am, but how do we balance these ideas, ma'am? Like post-humanism says that humans are not the center of the world, but eco-activism still ask human to act, right, ma'am? So how do we balance this, ma'am?
So the one simple idea is posthumanism, which says is humans are not as masters of nature. Okay, so that is what the simple idea. So eco-criticism, which is also saying the same. So we are not the masters of nature. We can talk about nature and the nature. We can utilize nature. We can enjoy nature, but we are not the masters of nature. So both eco-criticism and posthumanism talks convey the same message, which conveys that is we should give space for all the entities in the world. Okay.
Okay, ma'am, thank you.
Do we have any other questions or queries regarding the topic?
Ma'am, eco-criticism, you said eco-criticism and post-humanism talks about decentering human beings. So is there an alternative that is provided? So we'll decenter human beings from the position where they are taking up higher position. So what is the alternative? How do you think should the relationship be of human, non-human nature and everything?
Yes, ma'am. Recognizing humans as one species among many rather than the dominant one, that can be possible, right? So we can recognize human as one species, not the dominant one. Okay, so that is what this posthumanism and these two theories which talks about. And also viewing the world through multi-species perspectives. Okay, we should not consider a human as the center. Instead, we should consider the world through multi-species perspectives instead of strictly human priorities. Okay. Also, we can replace human superiority with ecological interdependence.
But ma'am, don't you think that post-humanism in a way gives importance to technology, and eco-criticism is mostly centered on nature, animals, and everything. So don't you think it clashes a bit with each other? Where because eco-criticism nowhere talks about technology. It's in a way against technology to certain extent, and post-humanism is all about technology. It considers technology also as part of non-human nature. So don't you think eco-criticism and humanism have contradictory views on that regard?
Yes, Yes, but when we take the intersection, that is the idea, the common idea which shares these two theories which shares, no, that is posthumanism and eco-criticism, the shared effort to move beyond human-centered thinking, no, that is evidentable, because posthumanism challenges the idea that humans are the central, are the superior species, while eco-criticism, no, which examines how literature and culture represent nature. So together they promote an ethical interconnectedness view. As in my perspective, I view the same. Like they promote together these two theories that promote an ethical and interconnectedness view in which humans and animals, technologies, and ecosystems, no, they are seen as coexisting agents, and they shared the same framework which encourages reading, thinking, and acting in ways that honor ecological balance. Okay, but these two theories which both talk about the ecological balance in ecosystem.
Ma'am, you said like AI and technology work closely with literature, right, ma'am? So how can they help us to explore human and nature relationship, and how could they explore the environmental issues in the anthropocentric field, ma'am?
So I will say like AI also can help us to understand the nature better, because literature which increasingly explores AI as characters, companions. That is the reason I have mentioned that AI and literature closely work together. Like we can able to understand the machine emotions through AI. Okay, because in literature we are talking about the emotions of nature and human, animals, and other entities. No, that is through AI we also can able to know the emotions of machine and the post-human futures that can be evidenceable, that can be read through AI. That is what I have mentioned.
Ma'am, there is a question in the chat box. Could you shed some light on biocentrism? What is biocentrism?
Yes, sorry, ma'am. Biocentrism, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. So, biocentrism, which is nothing but which talks about the belief in all living beings. Okay, like humans, animals, plants, even the microorganisms. We all have the intrinsic value. That is what the biocentrism, which focuses on. Like in single word, like every life form has worth. That is what biocentrism which convey.
Okay, ma'am, another question in the chat box, ma'am. In what ways do speculative fiction and post-colonialism futurist narratives expand eco-critical conversation beyond Western epistemologies?
Yes, ma'am. This speculative fiction, which means the science fiction, the fantasy dystopia, or the climate fiction, all these are called as speculative fiction, which plays a crucial role in eco-criticism, because by imagining the alternative worlds or future technologies or future ecologies, all these are possible through this climate fiction only, because it allows the writers to explore the ecological degradation. That is the exaggeration. Which helps the reader to understand the urgency of the issues like climate change or the pollution or whatever the scarcity which happens through this speculative fiction, through this climate fiction, it reaches the readers.
Thank you, ma'am. Another question, ma'am, in the chat box. To what extent does the rise of artificial intelligence complicate eco-critical frameworks that have largely focused on organic life?
Yes, ma'am. When we take eco-critical AI, role of AI in eco-critical activities, that is this AI which is transforming eco-critical work by offering powerful tools, but through AI we can analyze the text in deeper. So AI can scan enormous sets of novels, poems, and films through which we can able to segregate, and also we can able to understand the patterns about nature, climate change, or the environmental metaphors in different way.
Okay, ma'am. The next question is from Chris, Professor Chris.
There is another question, ma'am. Is posthumanism a realistic future or a philosophical imagination, ma'am?
It is a realistic future only, because which talks about the natures. I mean, the giving space for the other entities in the world, right? So it is a realistic future according to me.
Do we have any other questions from the participants? Okay. Then, thank you for your thoughtful queries and responses. And if there are no questions, we can conclude the session, I think. Okay. As we conclude, I extend my sincere gratitude to our esteemed resource person, Dr. Nadia, for her insightful presentation and for graciously sharing her expertise with us today. And I extend heartfelt gratitude to all the participants for making this session meaningful. And kindly fill out the feedback form that will be shared in the WhatsApp group shortly. And we request your active participation on the remaining 3 days of the 5-day online faculty development program. Thank you all. You can now leave the session. Thank you.